welcome back to the Mormon Felon. We're going to talk about bricks and minifigs again. So right now, I feel that Ammon Mcneff is broke, and he orchestrated this whole thing as a money grab for all those Lego that Brian Mansell had in that store. So let's dive into that. Ammon, this is all my thoughts, my perspective, my opinion. So between all the money that Mcneff owed the IRS, which was shown previously in court documents, it was, I think, in the $180,000 range. Then his previous attorneys sued him for unpaid attorney's fees of $500,000. His continued increasing of the franchising fees and the continued takeover of franchises and suing franchisees or former franchisees all goes, in my mind, to show that he's trying to get money. He doesn't have money, and he's trying to find ways to scam people out of money. So that's my opinion on that matter. You know, what better way to get a good chunk of money than to seize a store that has a large Lego collection? Crystal Law stated in her newest amended complaint that she alleged that there was still $50,000 to $80,000 worth of Brian Mansell's Legos in the store when BAM took it over. So stealing the franchise and stealing from the consignor is a good way for him to come up with some extra money. But not only that, there are in Crystal Law's recent amended complaint, she alleges RICO violations in Utah by BAM Franchising and Ammon Mcneff. So as part of that, it goes along the pattern of BAM seizing stores and how they do that. And so I've got a document here that I pulled from the Barbecue Counselors show that is part of the amended complaint, and we'll take a look at that and discuss it a little bit. But a lot of what I'm talking about is stuff that came from the Barbecue Counselor here on YouTube. So we're going to talk about this RICO claim now. All right, so in the RICO claim by Crystal Law, the amended complaint that she filed, she alleges the RICO in, and she added a lot of people onto this amended complaint, including Brandon Best, Josh Johnson, and Baker Bricks LLC and Baker Bricks Salem, which Baker Bricks was created about 6 months before the store was seized. And so they had it formed and already ready to take over the store. Then the next day after Best got there, he was ready to file with the state of Oregon for Salem Baker Bricks. And that was the very next day that after they seized the store. So he had everything ready to take the store over. And so that is part of the reason she's filing this RICO claim, is that it shows that they had been planning this and had a plan for it. And this is the same story that we get from other franchisees that have had this happen to them as well. So in the RICO claims document, the amended complaint, Crystal Law gives 8 steps that Mcneff and Bricks and Minifigs use to accomplish the alleged fraud scheme, which makes this a RICO investigation. So I'm not a lawyer, I'm just a businessman, but I'm going to try and explain this in ways that a normal person like myself would understand. So it's more down to earth, because sometimes we don't understand what the legal stuff says. So this is my interpretation of the legalese of this document. So step one is they're going to lure the franchisee to buy a franchise by making false claims and exaggerating the amount of money that the franchise typically brings in a year. So that's step one. Step two of the scheme is they go after people who have never owned franchises, so they don't really know how they work. And they also use their own personal money or savings to purchase the franchise. They do that because if a bank is involved, then a bank usually has a security interest on the franchise or the inventory in the franchise. So the bank could come in and seize the inventory. Whereas if they use their personal funds, there's nobody securing, there's no loan or anybody else that has security interest in the inventory. So they are able to seize that inventory much easier. So step three is they don't give access to everything that they told the franchisee they would. So I think in Crystal Law's case, the bank account and the lease to the location were both still in Bam's name. They never changed that over to her name, so it makes this transition a lot easier on them, so they can take it and they don't have to go through any legal means in order to change those because they still are on those accounts. So this is my understanding. It may not be correct, but that's my understanding of what's being said. So the next step four, since the franchisee doesn't have access to some of the stuff that they were promised, like those bank accounts and the lease and different things, they can't run the business how it should be run. And they run into the problem of not performing as well as they should and not paying BAM as much as BAM wants to be paid. Step five, they make it seem like they're negotiating for a settlement with the franchisee, negotiating the terms of what repayment or how to bring up sales or whatever. So they try to act like they're the nice guy and they're negotiating with the franchisee while secretly behind their back they're already figuring out how to take over the store and sell it to the next person lining up, who will buy it. And that's been shown in multiple cases as well in this. So step six of this is they're going to ambush the franchisee. They're not going to give them any notice or any warning. They're going to show up on their door in their store and seize control of the assets and lock them out. So, we've seen that happen as well. Step seven, they keep the money the person paid for the franchise. They take the inventory and assets, no matter who actually owns it. We saw this with Brian Mansell's Legos. And since they still have control of the accounts, never transferred them to the franchisee along with the lease, those are much easier to take over. They do all of this, then they assign a low value to the inventory. And they do that because if they assign a low value to the inventory, say they assign the inventory at $20,000 and they claim that the franchisee owes them $100,000, then they don't have to give the franchisee anything. If they value the inventory at $120,000, that's what they get out of it, and the franchisee only owes them $80,000, then they're going to have to give some money to the franchisee because they got more than what they owed. So by valuing the inventory lower, they don't have to worry about that. Now, step 8 is they either resell the franchise to an insider like Brandon Best, Josh Johnson, or they find another person to sucker and become a franchisee and start the process all over again. So here's one more piece of information the barbecue counselor shared, and it's from the amended complaint as well, and it goes right along with both of the things that we've been discussing in this video, and that's paragraph 109 of the amended complaint. It gives the economic motive for BAM doing this. So basically it says, this is why BAM might do this to the franchisees, and it shows their financial statements and that there was a deficit every year. So in 2023, they had a $276,000 deficit. In 2024, there was a $492 deficit. In 2025, there was a $621 deficit. And then it goes on to talk about net losses. In 2023, almost $95,000 net loss. In 2024, a $215,000 net loss. And in 2025, a $66,000 net loss. So all 3 of those years were net losses for Bricks and Minifigs, and that creates incentive to find unique ways to bring up revenue. And so I feel, as my personal opinion, that is probably what they have been doing. They have been creatively and illegally finding ways to increase their revenue. So not only do I think that Ammon Mcneff, or as the barbecue counselor likes to call him, Scammon Mcneff, is broke, but I think Bricks and Minifigs is as well. This is the Mormon Felon. Like and subscribe to see more of our videos. If you need any electronics recycling in the Dallas-Fort Worth area or across the country, give Tech Away of Texas a call. We're more than happy to recycle your electronics here in the DFW area. If you have larger lots across the country that have value to them, then we're more than willing to travel and do those as well. We often pay for higher value items, so give us a call or an email. Look us up on Facebook or online, Tech-Away of Texas.